are far larger, more consequential problems that immediately must be addressed in terms of how the local court structure works, like how lower courts work, because that would imply that the lower courts are just straight up letting people go. Dude, I saw a TikTok that I want to show you guys about where Joe Rogan was, okay? I need you to see this. This is back when I was a Joe Rogan head as well. Here's Joe Rogan and Sam Harris, two people who I disagree with vehemently now, talking about Donald Trump.
The illegal aliens
round them up and round them up.
And do what with them?
Send them back to their country.
Oh, that is so crazy. That's such a crazy idea, and it's so brutal. The idea that, I mean, it's a subhuman thing. The only reason why people would come to America is because they felt like it would make their life better. So people take a big risk. There's not an easy way to do it if you're poor, and you don't have any qualifications for any unusual job. I mean, and you're trying to get across to Mexico. But everybody who does it because they want to improve their life. You know, and the idea that one group of people shouldn't be able to do it and one group should, just because they were born on the right side of some strange line that is only a couple hundred years old.
But the climate change thing is also insane and dangerous.
Well, he was a birther.
Right, yeah, right.
He was one of the original birthers. He was saying that Obama's birth certificate was bullshit. He was born in Kenya, right? Wasn't he one of those guys?
Oh, yeah, he was
I would love
self-funding that for a while. Yeah,
I would love it if he got into office and just said, "Listen, folks."
Like, this is Joe Rogan in 2016, and his approach to immigration right here, like specifically talking about undocumented migrants right here, is my understanding of the reality. Okay, because it is the reality. No one is coming into America with like impure intentions. Okay, especially not 20 million people. The assumption that 20 million undocumented migrants, if there are 20 million of them on U.S. soil, with a hive mind, right? Operate with a hive mind to begin with is insane. Like dudes from Honduras, Guatemala, Cuba, Venezuela, the Congo, China, all around the world, right? People come into the United States of America from all around the world. The notion that like an evil act of a singular undocumented migrant is actually reflective of the 20 million population is psychotic, especially when they are from virtually every different demographic, ethnicity, creed, background, race, educational attainment. Like they are not, this is not one blob. That's number one. Number two, the notion that they come here specifically to do crimes or to ruin American society is also ridiculous. Like, these are just normal people, man. They're normal people just like you and me. And they want the same exact things. They want a roof over their heads. They want a better future for themselves and their kids. They want to have a regular job, you know? So the idea that they're coming here to do crimes and like undermine American culture is completely ridiculous. It's so silly. I don't understand it. So coming through the legal process, great question. Some of the people that are being deported are actually coming in through the legal process, just so you know. The difference between an undocumented migrant and a documented migrant is just paperwork. And as far as the undocumented migrants that have come in, okay, the reason why they have come in through criminal means, which is not a severe violation at all, right? You're passing, as Joe Rogan correctly points out, an imaginary boundary that we set up like 100 years ago. It didn't even exist. It's just paperwork. You are so pathetically virtuous. It's insane. First of all, I don't understand why virtue is considered a vice in this regard, okay? You are just saying that you agree that I have the morally correct position. That is not like a pejorative. You can't say, man, I hate how pathetically virtuous you are. What has happened to American society? What has happened to people? What do you mean pathetically virtuous? It's like that tweet, never commit the sin of empathy. Like, what is happening? What do you mean, the sin of empathy? Illegal immigrant rights over American people's rights. Nice one, Hassan. Your rights begin and end on the boundaries of other people, okay? On other people's rights. There's no such thing as like illegal immigrants getting more rights than Americans. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not a real thing. And also, that should not be a real thing, okay? And in terms of just paperwork, it is the truth. Because the difference between an undocumented migrant, when people say, just come in the legal way, that's what they're saying. File the paperwork. And I'm telling people that they do file the paperwork and they are still considered undocumented migrants because it's just about paperwork. That's the reason why J.D. Vance can go on the national stage and say, Haitians with temporary protected status proper paperwork are undocumented migrants that are going to be deported from this country.
Now, the media loves to say that the Haitian migrants, hundreds of thousands of them, by the way, 20,000 in Springfield, but hundreds of thousands of them all across our country, they are here legally. And what they mean is that Kamala Harris used two separate programs, mass parole and temporary protective status. She used two programs to wave a wand and to say, we're not going to deport those people here. Well, if Kamala Harris waves the wand illegally and says these people are now here legally, I'm still going to call them an illegal alien. An illegal action from Kamala Harris does not make an alien legal. That is not how this works.
They're not undocumented. They have the documentation. They quite literally have the proper paperwork, which means they went through the process. They got criminal background checks. The Department of Homeland Security, which is not a woke institution, has decided that these people are allowed into the country. Okay? That's number one. Number two, in terms of like national security conversations, national security fears in general, this again goes back to a falsehood that I was addressing in the beginning. These people are not coming in here to do crimes. And as a matter of fact, the data also reflects that reality. Undocumented migrants are responsible for a smaller share of crimes per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens are. They do less crime in general. Define paperwork, be more specific. I don't know how much more specific I can be. Paperwork as in going through the proper channels and opening up the proper channels in the hands of the federal government, of course, opening up the proper channels for these undocumented migrants to be processed. America has created amnesty for undocumented migrants numerous times throughout its history. Ronald Reagan very famously did this as well. Defined paperwork in this situation would be whichever the proper paperwork is for processing undocumented migrants and making them documented migrants. A big part of the reason why there are undocumented migrants to begin with, like the people that just come in, right, without the proper paperwork, is because the government doesn't want there to be enough paperwork readily available, enough processing readily available. They just don't let in that many people in general. It is a very long and arduous process. That's the real reason. Yes, as someone in the chat pointed this out as well, as my God King Gaben has said, piracy is a service problem, right? And he's correct. Piracy is a service problem. The American government and its immigration processes are no different. Undocumented migration is directly born out of the fact that the federal government makes it like a 10-year to 15-year process for you to get properly cleared to get into the country. I mean, I have described the real reasons as to why the federal government has this approach, and that is because they want there to be an endless pool of undocumented laborers, people that have no legal means to fight back if they are over by their bosses, people who play a role in the American agribusiness, people who play an incredibly important role in the construction sector, that are a permanently refreshing pool of labor that will work because they're in much more desperate condition, that will work for pennies on the dollar, doing backbreaking labor that can be deported from this country on a moment's notice. If these people were all documented, then business owners wouldn't be able to abuse them as much. Business owners wouldn't be able to use them as a means of depressing the wages of the documented labor pool.
What does it take? What is the standard, I guess, to go into an elementary school? Because what we had heard from immigration advocates is that this is going to provide a chilling effect to parents in the school drop-off.
I don't know what to say. Like, it's no longer hysterical to say that this is Nazi. You know what I mean? I mean, this is identical. Brother, you're talking about an elementary school, man. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? At that point, like, what does it take? Truly, what does it take for people to be like, okay, this is exactly what the Nazis were doing? A lot of people don't want to recognize that, like, their government is doing things that they've learned in history books were historically wrong, you know? Our historic enemies have done these things. They don't want to recognize that reality. And some people just actively like it, and they enjoy the pain and cruelty. And they're like, oh, no. And then for many, I think it's just like, well, they're not death camps. The Nazis didn't start off with death camps either. It starts with dehumanization, and then it moves on from dehumanization to apprehension. It moves on from apprehension to deportation, And once deportation is not like materially viable because it's too expensive, too costly, too many legal hurdles, then, you know, another alternative comes to mind.